and welcome to FM Unscripted, a podcast produced by the International Facility Management Association's FMJ magazine. I am Andrea Sanchez, Editor-in-Chief for FMJ, and your host for the next couple of minutes. Today we explore the topic of outsourcing facility services. I have the pleasure of interviewing Tony Pucci, Senior Vice President of ABM. Tony is a 25-year-old veteran of the facility management industry and oversees international business development. Welcome, Tony. Let's begin with an introductory question. What are some of the signs that point to the need for outsourcing?
Well, Andrea, I think many things can point to the need for outsourcing. Basically, if there's some business changes for a company whereby they've either lost people or downsizing, outsourcing is a good answer to that problem. I think as the baby boomers age and a lot of the people in facilities or engineering or maintenance retire, people need to look at replacing that in-house knowledge with perhaps an outsourced solution.
Often people are not sure whether to go that route or not. They're worried about the buy-in. So how do you gain consensus around switching to an outsourcing model?
Well, that's a great question because that is one of the complex areas that companies need to address in gaining consensus. We work with corporate executive board on a lot of sales initiatives, and they tell us that today there are approximately 5.5 stakeholders that are involved in decision making. And if those people aren't in alignment, it can lead to a failed outsourcing attempt or a difficult one at best. We also see somewhat of a disconnect sometimes between the sourcing or procurement entities and those stakeholders, and we do try to help them gain consensus along the way so that our responses to any outsourcing initiatives can be accurate and in line with their goals.
There's so many outsourcing options to pick from. Let's begin first with some of the traditional options within facility management. Can you go into some of those?
Sure. Most often people out-task. That's what we call procuring one service at a time. And many industries are out-tasking a lot of their services that they require. Some still don't. But typically that would be janitorial, security, maintenance, parking if it's commercial real estate, those kinds of things.
Since then, we've moved a bit forward to some additional types of services, one which is coined integrated facility services. Please elaborate on that.
Sure. Well, there's a variety of ways to look at integrated facility services. There are what people call hard services, which include the technical or maintenance issues, and there are soft services, which are labor-related services that aren't necessarily technical in nature. With that being said, some companies are bundling services together, typically either in the hard services area or the soft services area. And then lastly, you get to an integrated solution where you have both kinds of technical and non-technical services that are labor-related and typically on-site. But oftentimes there are mobile maintenance aspects to an integrated facility services model. So it really is important for clients to understand exactly what they need, exactly what they want to incorporate into an integrated solution, and then reach consensus internally on what the goals and objectives are for that initiative.
What would you say are the advantages for integrated facility services? And perhaps on the flip side, are there any disadvantages?
Well, clearly a company needs to decide which route to take. And again, that's relative to the consensus building within their stakeholder community. But certainly there are advantages and disadvantages to everything. What we've seen in the marketplace over time maybe the last 10 years is the outtasking model has been honed to a science, if you will, within some organization. And in order to achieve better synergies, to achieve consistency across the board, companies are moving toward outsourcing in an integrated fashion. So there are many advantages. Just like outsourcing or outtasking, you need fewer people to manage multiple services. So with outtasking, you're managing multiple companies, multiple contracts. You have different billing systems that you have to contend with. You have different reporting systems. So it's harder to get all of that information in a consistent manner. So integrated facility services will allow a company to have standards applied across all service lines, all contractors if they're subcontracted, and to get consistent reporting and application of standards. And ultimately, an integrated solution, it's easier for companies to measure the success of these initiatives against their goals. Typically, they're measured by using key performance indicators and the like.
I see. So, yeah, definitely a step up, and it sounds like more efficient. And in your experience, what industries will see a rising demand around moving to this integrated outsourcing solution?
Well, over the past 10 years, it's been building. Clearly, I think the industry that we see the most integrated facility services opportunity is in the financial industry.
Mm-hmm.
But as of late, we're seeing more and more come in the biopharma space and the industrial manufacturing space. Manufacturing, it typically let plant managers make decisions, and as outtasking grew and indirect procurement grew, that has taken a natural course of action toward an integrated model. So now we're seeing more activity in the manufacturing world.
So what should one look for in obtaining the best outsourcing fit?
Well, I think trust in your contractor is probably the most important thing, because the integrated model encompasses so many things that no one could possibly delineate absolutely every single facet of it and contemplate every future need. So I think companies really need to pick an integrated facility services provider that they can trust, and that's built on experience, longevity in the marketplace, integrity with current clients, and an ability to demonstrate that the company can meet and achieve the goals that are set forth by the company that's hiring them. So I think those are really the most important things. I think when consensus is built around what kinds of services are needed and what service levels are needed, then it's easier to make a decision once you've chosen a group of companies that you can trust. If you don't have that consensus, then what ends up happening is companies choose on the only thing that they can reach a consensus on, and that is oftentimes price. And sometimes that can lead to some very poor decisions and bad outcomes.
Very true, and great words of wisdom there. Tony, is there anything else you would like to discuss with our listeners today?
No, I think you've covered some of the basics. I think the only thing I would say is that one of the pitfalls that we see time and time again is companies do not have the data gathered in order to procure integrated services. It's very important to know what the service levels are at various building types and various locations, and to know what the spend is, because if you can't compare that with whatever solutions being offered, it's oftentimes impossible to make a decision about this initiative. And these initiatives take up so much time for the companies and the service providers that it is oftentimes a shame when the end result is no decision, just merely because of the fact that the data gathering was incomplete. So I think that's really the most important starting point for any company that's considering this, is to be able to gather the data, gather the spend, and make sure that it's accurate and that the stakeholders buy off on what that data tells them before they go into an integrated facility services initiative.
Absolutely, very critical. Tony, thank you so much for your time today. We greatly appreciate everything you do and your staff at ABM does for the profession and for IFMA.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate it, and we look forward to continued participation with IFMA.
Special thanks to Tony and his team of experts at ABM. Among IFMA's prestigious silver-level corporate sustaining partners, ABM specializes in delivering proven, innovative facility solutions, state-of-the-art technology, and best-in-class facility maintenance practices that translate to reliable service and bottom-line savings. To learn more about the topic discussed today, go to ifma.org and refer to the July-August 2015 issue of FMJ Magazine, as well as check out ABM online at www.abm.com. Thank you for tuning in.